So the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. You are to speak everything I command you, and your brother Aaron is to tell Pharaoh that he must release the Israelites from his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and although I will multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, Pharaoh will not listen to you. I will reach into Egypt and bring out my regiments, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with great acts of judgment. Then the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I extend my hand over Egypt and bring the Israelites out from among them." And Moses and Aaron did so. They did just as the Lord commanded. Now Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "When Pharaoh says to you, 'Do a miracle,' and you say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh,' it will become a snake." When Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh, they did so just as the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a snake. Then Pharaoh also summoned wise men and sorcerers, and the magicians of Egypt, by their secret arts, did the same thing. Each man threw down his staff, and the staffs became snakes. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he did not listen to them, just as the Lord had predicted. The Lord said to Moses, "Pharaoh's heart is hard. He refuses to release the people. Go to Pharaoh in the morning when he goes out to the water. Position yourself to meet him at the edge of the Nile, and take in your hand the staff that was turned into a snake. Tell him, 'The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to you to say, release my people, that they may serve me in the wilderness.' But until now you have not listened. This is what the Lord has said. By this you will know that I am the Lord. I am going to strike the water in the Nile with the staff that is in my hand, and it will turn to blood. Fish in the Nile will die. The Nile will stink, and the Egyptians will be unable to drink water from the Nile." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over Egypt's waters, over their rivers, over their canals, over their ponds, over all their reservoirs, so that it becomes blood. There will be blood everywhere in the land of Egypt, even in wood and stone containers." Moses and Aaron did so, just as the Lord had commanded. He raised the staff and struck the water that was in the Nile right before the eyes of Pharaoh and his servants, and all the water that was in the Nile was turned to blood. When the fish that were in the Nile died, the Nile began to stink, so that the Egyptians could not drink the water from the Nile. There was blood everywhere in the land of Egypt. But the magicians of Egypt did the same with their secret arts. And so Pharaoh's heart remained hard, and he refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house. He did not pay attention to this. All the Egyptians dug around the Nile for water to drink, because they did not drink the water in the Nile. 7 full days passed after the Lord struck the Nile. Okay, bump, bump. So again, this is spiritual warfare, and the signs of spiritual warfare are demonstrating the power of your God. So Moses is told by God, "I am going to make you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother like a prophet. You are to speak everything I command you, and your brother is to tell Pharaoh that he must release the Israelites from his lands." It's like, is Aaron just going to keep repeating, "You must release the Israelites from land"? Is that what he's supposed to do? Or You speak everything I command you to your brother, and your brother, in addition to what I speak, will say this. I think you could go either way in thinking that because of the different ways it's said earlier. And frankly, I don't know that it matters. Aaron is the mouthpiece. He is like the prophet. The prophet is telling the person what they need to do. So we have that. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart. The clause begins with the emphatic use of the pronoun and the disjunctive vav, expressing contrast. But as for me, I will harden. They will speak, but God will harden. Imperfect tense kahash is found only here in these hardening passages. The verb here in the hifel, I will harden, summarizes Pharaoh's resistance to what God would be doing through Moses. He would be stubbornly resisting and refusing him. He would be resolved in his opposition, the hardening of Pharaoh's heart. So if you want to go read more, there you have it. But here, and one of the things that happens is it goes back and forth between God is the one who is hardening Pharaoh's heart to Pharaoh is the one hardening Pharaoh's heart. So Pharaoh has already hardened his heart. God here is just reinforcing what Pharaoh has already done. So I am going to harden his heart. I am going to keep it steadfast in the position he is choosing to have it in. That's what we can see this as happening. If God is the cause agent doing it, that's so more the be it. He is attacking, from the Egyptian standpoint, another god. So he is doing battle with the so-called gods of Egypt, Pharaoh being the one that the people are going to see and turn to. So he is going to be steadfast in his resolve against God. I don't see any issue going on there. Some people do. I don't think so. Some people will say, well, doesn't this violate free will and free agency? And I 100% say yes, because I don't believe we have such a thing. We have choices. Choices are not will. Those things are different. So, social ants. Oh, so kiddos went to watch a Michael Jackson movie and apparently are now MJ fans. His song, They Don't Really Care About Us, was instrumental. You're kind of a fan of MJ. Neverland protected some from the island. Thoughts? I haven't seen it. I've never been a fan of his music, so I probably don't have much to add, and any of the stuff that I saw or heard along the way in regards to Neverland, I don't know validity of those things. So in some ways, he had some strange behaviors. Did it end at strange behaviors and mannerisms, or was there other things? So I don't. Not something I've studied, so I'm not an expert to give thoughts on that. But I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I've heard a few people saying that were Michael Jackson fans that they really enjoyed it. So I guess that's good when you enjoy something and someone makes a movie and you can go and enjoy it. You want to go watch it together? I don't know the last time I went to the movies. So I do not like to go sit in a crowd to watch a movie. I prefer to watch it on an airplane or sit at home. Yeah, same. I'm old. Yeah. I don't want to go watch a movie in a theater, which is funny because that was when I was dating. That's what I did. Like I went to the movies and went and took, this date to a movie, another date to a movie, not serious, or when I was serious, the same person repeatedly to a movie. It's like, that's what I did back in the day. And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, so back to the hardening of heart of Pharaoh. And although I will multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, Pharaoh will not listen to you. I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and although I will multiply signs and wonders in the land of Egypt, Pharaoh will not listen to you. So Pharaoh is not going to listen to you. So one of the things that we apparently don't pay attention to, although we get familiar with this and we know that, there's 10 plagues. But the people, God already is telling them up front, look, this isn't going to be 1 plague, 2 plague, 3 plagues, go. It's going to be an ongoing battle here with Pharaoh. It is going to be an ongoing battle with Pharaoh, and the people need to be prepared for it. So you need to know it's ongoing. It's not just going to be a walk in the park here. So he's already told Moses and Aaron that. Moses has already complained about you. You've made things worse. Now they don't have straw. Now the people are upset. Like it's not getting better for them. And God has prepared them for the long haul. And another thing we need to think about is, how long is it between plagues? We don't always know how long it's between plagues. It will go from one plague to the next and read like, oh, it's immediately going to the next one. So pay attention to if it tells us when any of these things start. We know where they're going to end. They're going to end at the beginning of the year. They're going to end at the beginning of the year with Passover, because that's in the first month of the year, which would be April, May. So we're right at that time of year when it would happen. So that's the last one. That's the 10th one. We're at the first one. So yeah, I like this. Let's pay attention to the Bible, not what the world makes relevant. Exactly. Pharaoh will not listen to you. I will reach into Egypt and bring out my regiments, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt, and with great acts of judgment. So these are acts of judgment. Why? Because the cry, remember, went up. The cry of the poor, the oppressed, the people of God has gone up because of the oppression of the poor, the widow, the orphan, the foreigner that Egypt is doing upon his chosen people. So the cry has gone up, and a cry going up is the cry of oppression that goes up. It is not a prayer. It is different. It is God hearing the plight of people. So we don't have to be in relationship. Here it happens to be the people of God calling out, but even the poor, destitute, who are not the people of God crying out, God hears their cry. Then the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord, and when I extend my hand over Egypt and bring the Israelites out. What is the point of this? Egypt is going to know that God is God. That is the point of this. Egypt will know when I extend my hand. So it's going to be by signs and wonders. Then Moses and Aaron did so. They did as the Lord commanded. And then we get Moses is 80, Aaron is 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. So then this helps, fill in some timeline. The plague, or I should say, the cry for, or I should say, the command for Israelite boys to be killed in the Nile River was over 80 years ago. So if people give this idea that God is a vengeful God just waiting to smite people at the moment they do anything wrong, why does he wait 80 years to confront Egypt about the blood they spilled with the babies being thrown in the Nile River? Okay, we don't know how long it took. We don't know when Moses is born in relationship to the command being given. Clearly, we have Aaron being born before the command, and we have Moses being born during the command. So at most, it's probably 82 years. So perhaps Moses is born 1 or 2 years into the command. So 81, 82 years is possibly when this is going to take place. So Moses and Aaron are here. They're doing everything that God has commanded them to do. All right, we got ads coming in. I'm going to go. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, do a miracle, and you say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, it will become a snake. When Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh, they did so, and it became a snake. Then Pharaoh also summoned his wise men and sorcerer and his magicians of Egypt. In their secret arts did the same thing. Each man threw down his staff, and it became a snake. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he did not listen to them, just as the Lord had predicted. Okay, so this is interesting in the way that they're translating it. When he is saying, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, they are translating then the result of it as a prediction that was going to take place and happened. All right, so one of the things here with the snake is we need to think about the snake in terms of a sign of Egypt. So Pharaoh, the cobra fan on the headdress, is part of him being connected with that. There's also the little cobra on the hood of his, so you see that iconography all throughout. So the snake is a prominent place in Egypt. So when Moses can do these things, it's not a surprise that Pharaoh's magicians can also copy turning a staff into a snake. They are connected with snakes in their religion and in their culture, and so they are going to have that. The snake also, we get the word seraphim, and a seraphim is a throne guardian. And so it's going to be a serpent of some kind. Cherubim is going to be a different one. So we have some of those things. So it's not a surprise at all that for the Egyptians to be able to do this. The thing that is of note, though, the surprising piece here, don't miss it, is Aaron's staff eats the other snakes. So there we have it. Now, it doesn't say that Aaron then grabbed the snake and turned it back into a staff. We had Moses do that in the beginning, so we can make the assumption that it happens because Aaron has his staff later because he's to take the staff. But it doesn't even tell us here that he takes it and turns it back into. It just leaves that out of the story because the important thing is that it eats and swallows the other staffs. So the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hard. He refuses to release the people. So let me see on the footnote here. Pharaoh's heart is unresponsive. Could be another way to say it. I still like going with the hard of it because it being hard means it's going to be heavy. It's going to weigh a lot. When Pharaoh is weighed on the scale with a feather, he's going to lose. Okay? So the Lord says to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hard. He refuses to release the people. Go to Pharaoh in the morning. Okay? So how long was it between the going with the turning the, well, first, let my people go, and then the, hey, we are not going to have any straw. And now we have go with the serpent, and hey, we're not going to let you go. So we're not even to the plagues yet. We've had a couple of encounters already before we get to the plagues. So now it's go to Pharaoh in the morning when he goes to the water. Position yourself to meet him at the edge of the Nile. So we have when you go, where you go, what you take your staff, the one you turned into a snake. So we know he still has it. We just didn't have at the end of the story the picking up again because that wasn't the key part of it. The key part was it consumed the other snakes. It was more powerful than the other snakes. So tell him the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent you to say, release my people, that they may serve me in the wilderness. But until now you have not listened. This is what the Lord says. By this you will know that I am the Lord. I am going to strike the water in the Nile with the staff in my hand, and it will turn into blood. Now, the rest of it is just natural piece which would happen afterwards. Fish in the Nile will die, the Nile will stink, and the Egyptians will be unable to drink the water from the Nile. So those are all results of the water turning to blood. So then the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, take your staff, stretch it out over the waters, over the rivers, over the canals, over the ponds, over all the reservoirs, so it becomes blood. There will be blood everywhere in the land of Egypt, even in the wood and stone containers. So anybody who wants to say, hey, I mean, and there's natural explanations that people try to come up with, and I have no problem with trying to come up with natural explanations. God could have known these natural things were going to happen and then use them in a way. But this is going far beyond that in the description. Having water in stone containers suddenly turn red, having water in reservoirs turn red is not going to be an algae bloom, which is one of the explanations, just suddenly happen. This is supernatural, and we need to make sure that we remember that and treat it as being a supernatural event that's taking place here. So why is the first plague blood? I think it's pretty simple and obvious why the first plague is blood. We've got a couple of things that are going on here. One is that where were the Hebrew babies to be thrown when the midwives refused to kill them? They were to be thrown in the Nile River. If we go back to God, when he confronts Cain, he says, your brother's blood cries out from the ground. Every place that water is blood. It is crying up from the ground of all of the Hebrew babies that Pharaoh 80 plus years ago commanded to be killed. The blood is now crying up from the ground. Yes, God was patient enough to wait 80 years and to use one of those very babies that should have been killed to be the deliverer of the people who have survived. So the blood is crying out from the ground. Also, the Nile is the source of life. From the very beginning, the threat of death is here in the plagues. Your life source, the thing that brings you life, is now not giving you life. Also, it looks like the Nile River is bleeding the god of the Nile. And I don't remember all the gods of Egypt. I frankly don't care. Whichever one is the god of the Nile, and somebody in chat or in the comments will probably tell me. I don't want to say because I get them mixed up. Anyway, it's as if he's bleeding. He has been attacked by the Hebrew God, and he has been slain, because everywhere, everything is turned to blood. And so we have multiple layers upon this which are taking place. We have the evidence of the wrong that Egypt has done, and we have an attack on the life source of Egypt, and we have an attack on the god of Egypt that brings that life source. So we have that happen, and not only is it in the Nile River, it is in every location that is taking place, because we're staking the staff and we're turning it everywhere, and it's happening. And then also, the interesting thing in here is that they did it everywhere in the land, so there is no escape. But the magicians, I always have a problem saying magician of Egypt, did the same by their secret art, so Pharaoh's heart remained hard. So the snakes, his people could do it, he stays hard. The water into blood, his people can do it, so so you can do the same thing as my God. My gods can. Whoopity-doo. You're not more powerful. First couple of plagues, we see this pattern. The magicians can copy what Moses and Aaron do. What God does through them can be copied. So Pharaoh's like, why would I let you go? My guys can do that too. Whoop-de-doo. Not a big deal. Moving on. So, but this is also part of what God had told them. So, just as the Lord had predicted, Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Instead of remained hard, could have became harder. He is solidifying his hardness by this. He is maintaining, he is holding to it. If you have someone who has anger and they won't let their anger go, they solidify, they hold on to, they manifest their anger in a deepness. Okay, we're almost done here. All the Egyptians dug all around the Nile for water to drink because they could not drink the water in the Nile. So do they find some? It stresses the water in the Nile, and the Nile had turned diverted and collected for use was polluted, undrinkable. Water underground also was from the Nile, but it had not been contaminated, certainly not with the dead fish, so it would be drinkable. Okay, so at least there's no dead fish, so it's drinkable. And then we have, as we go into the next chapter, 7 full days passed after this. And then we just jump to the next chapter, poor chapter break.